Hello. Good afternoon. So this is the most important conference each year for me. And I was joining the first Open Hardware Summit like several years ago. And Etolin Chef's seed studio and my prospection to the ecosystem, to the community. So I'd like to thank you all for letting me know what it's like to join the open hardware world. So joining the conference also made me think what I can contribute in a different perspective. So I'm going to talk a lot about factories. So Seed has been providing open source hardware since the very beginning, and we also help a lot of open hardware projects go to production. But a lot of projects get trapped, get delayed where they go to the factories. So the factories looks evil. They always give you problems, give you difficulties, and you don't know what it is like. It's a blank box. But let's look at the factories in Shenzhen. This is Shenzhen back in like 30 years ago. It was just a fisher village. There's no industry in there at all. And then another factories, another manufacturers goes to China, and people there start to build factories and start to learn how to manufacture things. So it's not a rocket science, and it's many years of accumulation. It's just a know-how that can be inherited. And we don't see a lot of textbook talking about manufacturing. But these people, we have a lot of hands-on experiences, and we pass it along through the business itself. So Shenzhen for now is becoming the humble technology center of China, and it's looking fabulous and real expensive on the houses. And this is 2009. A lot of familiar faces come over to Shenzhen for the first time, and I was totally amazed that I have a chance to meet them all. So this is opening the window to the makers to Shenzhen, and they become the first explorer to share the story about what's happening there. And I went to Shenzhen in 2008, but I feel too lonely, so we created the makerspace in Shenzhen in 2012 after I seen so many makerspace in the States. And I'm so jealous, and I want to create one there. And also we helped create the first hardware incubator hacks in 2013. And what's happening last year is becoming a huge vibe that the Premier Minister came over to the makerspace, which the whole country is looking for to support the maker movement. It feels if that it's becoming very easy for any design which goes to manufacture, because this city, this country is welcoming, but it's not. So we talk a lot about open source hardware, but how many of them are manufacturable? I don't think many. This is a very sad story. It's from our friend David Wando. He made the thinnest e-paper watch a few years ago. And it was a very successful campaign. But whenever he goes to manufacture, he went to Flextronics, because he wants to keep the transparent to his bankers, because it's causing delay, and it's very complex to have the new way of manufacturing. So he keep posting the know-hows from manufacturer, and gradually Flextronics feel panic. They don't want people to understand what they use, how they did to manufacture these watches. They are very much used to a very closed way of doing business. So they stopped this watch by raising a very high NIE that the Kickstarter money cannot support that. So this David Wando has to cancel this project and to share all the design files, all the know-hows to the bankers. It's a sad story because the factory they don't want to open, and the makers who are making products wants to go to manufacture does not know the manufacturer know-hows. Open source hardware has resolved very important problems, how to bring your idea into life, to have the first minimal viable products, how to have the prototypes very easily from other people's creations. And whenever you want to manufacture from one piece to several hundreds to 10,000 pieces, you need to not only program the firmware, you need to deal with factories, you need to work with the factory workers, how to ask them to follow what you expected to have. But I see very few open hardware design cover this domain. If we line this up, you have idea it's the design. If it goes further, you have prototype, what's 0.1. But you need a lot of efforts to have the first engineering sample. That's one. So we have another open source designs which have the schematics, they have the API, then further they have the layout, the CAD file, the bill of materials, the firmware. But what's beyond? What if you want to manufacture for 100 pieces? You at least need some test plans. But there are so many makers come to us because we have suffering a lot from these. A lot of makers come to us and they didn't know that needs a proper test plan. They didn't know that needs a test jig. They're thinking manufacturing is just like copy machines. But there were a lot of ways you need to do, like how to parallelize that. Whenever you go larger volumes, you need to set up the quality standards. You need to make the test jigs. You need to have the SOP, standard operation procedures, asking the people to follow to do it exactly right, because they are not yourself. And you need to worry about certificates. It might be too late whenever you're manufacturing 1,000 pieces and you rethink certificates. And also, if it's more than 10,000 pieces, it usually needs you to go back to the very beginning and to redesign it to meet further requirements like auto testing, like you to do Six Sigma, to DFMEA. Now, I don't see any of this knowledge included open source design, which cost a lot of open source design trapped in the middle. Whenever there's people liking it, but there's no enough knowledge to support it to go further. So if we see open source hardware is very much like open source software and its compilers, which is manufactured, but the compiler before was not catering to what we are doing. So we need a new compiler. This is Shenzhen. It's not only big factories. It's mainly consists of a lot of small to medium-sized factories, like from 2 people's workshop to 100 people's factories that can very fast iterate. And I think that's the only phenomenon I see in China is the factories, they are clustered. For example, to the east of Shenzhen, there were over 1,000 jewelry factories. They are clustered in one single town. And there are PCB factories to the west of the city. They are clustered in a very small town. So if we go to each of the region, we can actually have a lot of alternatives. You can find a lot of talents, but they are not ready to interface with people like us. It's a very difficult way to build up the relationship, to convince that we are the proper customers. We have some interesting orders. It's 2 different systems. Even I speak Chinese, I cannot deal with them very easily. So we are planning to build this. It's called X Factory. We want to have an open factory that everybody can go in and to build their own products. But it's not a tech shop. It's actually in the interface to local factories. We will share the same equipment with factories around this place. And we will invite the technicians. We invite the factory owners come to share their know-how. In return, they can get some very high profit, low volume orders so they can have much better income. But by doing this, we need to have a context that the manufacturer know-how can be documented and be shared among the world. And on the other hand, we will be inviting the global makers, like especially people in this room, to come to Shenzhen and to work with us, to work with these factories, to discover and document the know-how. Actually, I try to pronounce this as design from manufacturer for a previous Open Hardware Summit. But I'm not so good in executing that. Because back in the factories, whoever knows well about the technologies, who are very experienced, they don't know how to document and share with people. So if you join us, going there to document, I think that could be very structured, very easy to replicate knowledges. And the magic also is whenever you go there to use the factory to manufacture things, it's very easy to ramp up because all the factories around, they are ready to help. So that's why we are thinking to complete open source with the second half, which is to duplicate, which is to manufacture in larger volumes, much more easy than before. It's not just a concept. Oops. We should have accomplished by the end of last year, but it has delayed for 1 year. We are about to finish that this month. It will be something look like this. It will be in a place called Wanko City in Shenzhen. It's surrounded by all kinds of designers, architectures. So there are two meanings of this. First, we want to invite the furniture companies to join us. They know how to make furnitures, but they don't know how to have technologies inside. They don't know how to have AI inside their chairs. But we can go there and talk with them. You don't want to make a chair by yourself because it has been existing there for decades. So makers can work flawlessly with the industries to generate the next chair. And also they have all the distribution channels to help to sell, to distribute the chairs to their customers. And also we have the real estate companies around. They are willing to pay for these chairs. So we want to create a new ecosystem that can be duplicated, starting from one X factory. But could be more beyond. Like if we talk about like automobile, motorbikes, they're also clustered. If you talk about wearables, there are so many places. They have all the closest factories. And there are places with a lot of bags. So we can start one X factory by one, and we invite all the open source technologies to go merge into them and to discover the manufacturing know-hows to become the new interface. So that's about my talk. And I have an invitation. I want to invite you guys come over to Shenzhen next year for Open Hardware Summit 2017. Hope you like it. And I think I have a few minutes for questions, if anyone. If any questions or suggestions. I don't know how to carry this on to invite you guys come into the X Factory because I'm still thinking. So let's figure it out by more conversations, starting by just have a ticket away, just fly there and sit down, let's find out.
What kinds of tools are available to, small groups, 1, 2, 5 people who are trying to sort of make that step to go from, 100 to 1,000 units, and they want to start dealing with like test fixtures and baseline design tests and manufacturable? What kinds of tools are available to help them with that?
So we look at the process. Okay, sure.
So for small people, for the makers like 1, 2, 5 people kind of groups who are trying to step up the manufacturing maybe from like 100 to 1,000 units or thereabout, and they're trying to get involved with making their design manufacturable, making it testable, what kinds of tools are available to those kinds of groups of people?
So we will look at all different industries. Like for now, for the beginning, it's about architectures, smart buildings. So we'll look at things we need to make furniture, to make all the like labs, lights, doors. So we will prepare of course, some electronic manufacturings. The main idea is we make the equipments compatible for the other factories around. So whenever we finish the prototyping here, they understand all the parameter settings to manufacture in larger volumes. And also we will bring in technicians for that.
Okay. I was just trying to connect with the initial speaker about the problem they had with the components. Is it possible that you could provide information to the community about what components you guys have readily available to help us develop new products that we're not going to run into the problems they had with their Kickstarter project?
Yeah, so I think we proposed the Open Parts Library a few years ago now. We work very closely with Octoparts to have the Common Parts Library. So that's a subset of the popular used components that already we got from the statistically point. But from then on, we can see from the popular open source hardware, if we follow the open source hardware, we actually can save a lot of energy in sourcing components because they're probably shared. But what's beyond that is we need to make something which is particular according to some scenarios. So we will keep posting about some packs of components, and we will list them on the X Factory website.
So what's your take on manufacturing with open hardware equipment? So you're mentioning the X Factory and having similar equipment in all manufacturing plants to do transfers. Should the equipment be open, or is this somewhat actually happening already?
I think it's a true track, like having the open hardware easy to manufacture and to have some open source hardware manufacturer equipments. We try to do that, but I think they are not a must to mingle. Of course, there are so many manufacturer equipments, I can't wait to hack them or to have some open source alternatives.
Hi, Eric.
Yeah.
Is it possible for companies in the United States to perhaps build a prototyping shop or something that's compatible with X Factory so that the translation of the procedures and for production and test can be moved over very easily? Is that something that you see as possible?
Yeah, I think it's very possible, and that's the next phrase. Like we have tried to set up a manufacturer site in California. We want to portal the manufacturer. It's like the manufacturer should be like a service. As a service, it should be in many spots, just next to the users. And the X Factory could be like the experiment site, and we have the initial DNA generated and disclosed. Then we can copy it into different locations.
Okay, thank you so much, Eric.
Okay, thank you, or hope to see you in Shenzhen.